My husband slid the divorce papers in front of me. His section was already filled out. "You can file these any time you're unhappy," he said, with a smile that was sure nothing could ever go wrong. That face, so certain it could do no wrong. Little did I, a newlywed at the time, know that one day I'd want to slap that face. My name is Misty. I'm a working housewife, 3 years into my marriage. My husband Smith and I fell in love at work and got married, though we don't have kids yet. Our marriage is neither here nor there. Smith isn't exactly henpecked, but he's the type who does nothing around the house. In these times, when both partners often work, sharing a household chores isn't unusual, but Smith never lifts a finger. He still says things like, "Housework is a woman's job." Maybe it's because he lived at home for so long, but I think it's more the influence of his parents. Ah, Deborah. When we got married, I wondered what kind of mother-in-law I'd end up with. The luck of the draw with mothers-in-law can really change the course of a marriage. Mine turned out to be prepackaged food again? Can't you make a proper meal, Misty? A total miss. I had a long meeting today and got home late, but I cook properly when I get off work on time. I replied, "What are you talking about? A woman's place is in the home, not the office. It's common sense to have dinner and a bath ready when your husband gets home." Every single day, I come home from work to find Deborah already there. Smith gave her a spare key without asking me, and now she feels entitled to come over daily. I'm too scared to ask how early she arrives. She spends her time nitpicking everything in our house and then bombards me with criticism and snide remarks when I get home. "If you keep feeding Smith this junk, you're going to ruin his health." I do cook when I can. Ah, my poor son, stuck with such a useless wife. There's no reasoning with her. She just ignores everything I say, and it's so creepy when she calls him my little boy. Having her over occasionally is one thing, but this daily intrusion is seriously stressful. Smith just grins stupidly and says nothing, which infuriates me. If his mother's going to come over every day, the least she could do is help out. But no, Deborah doesn't lift a finger. Instead, she has the nerve to take home parts of the dinner I push myself to make. "Well, I'll just take this prepackaged food with me." "Wait, if you take that, we won't have anything for dinner." "That's why I'm telling you to come home earlier and cook." "But today, I just couldn't." "Enough excuses. Cook earlier for my son's sake." "Oh, and I'm taking the strawberries from the fridge, too. Bye." Just like that, she walks off with our dinner. Even with dinner gone, Smith says nothing. I glare at him, but he just keeps grinning. So frustrating. "Hey, why didn't you say anything when your dinner was taken away?" "It's no big deal. It's just at home for a bit." "It is a big deal. They took everything." "Then hurry up." "Huh?" "I'm hungry. Hurry up and make dinner, will you?" "What?" In anger and disbelief, I was left speechless as my husband went to the living room and flopped down on the couch. So annoying. At least pay for the deli food. Fuming, I screamed inside my head. I'm fed up with Deborah's daily intrusions, but oddly, I feel uneasy on the days she doesn't come. Returning from work, unusually, Deborah wasn't there, nor was my husband, who should have come home earlier than me. A sense of unease, despite the apparent calm. The reason became clear the moment I opened the fridge. It's gone! What should have been there wasn't. The steak meat I splurged on for payday, frozen for a weekend meal with my husband, now completely missing from the freezer. There was only one possibility. I dashed out of the house, mounted my bike, and pedaled furiously, yet safely, at breakneck speed, heading for my in-laws' house, a 7-minute bike ride away. I made it! Arriving in 5 minutes instead of 7, breathless, but no time to catch my breath, I opened the entrance to my in-laws' house. The door was unlocked, and though no one responded to my calls, I felt someone's presence and entered without hesitation, just like Deborah always does. When I saw inside, it was, "What are you eating without permission?" A familiar empty meat pack. Of course it's empty. The remnants of grilled meat, nearly all consumed, laid out on the table. Seeing this, I screamed in despair. My in-laws and my husband surprisingly looking at me. Misty? Why are you here? Just a minute, Misty. Why are you barging in like that? Ignoring my husband and Deborah's voices, I picked up the tray that had held the meat and faced the three of them. This is the meat I bought. Did you just eat it without permission? That. It was delicious. Thanks for the treat. Deborah smiled cheerfully, while I was boiling with anger. It's not about it being delicious. I bought it for me and my husband to eat together. Why did you eat it without asking? It doesn't matter. Our son ate it too. I didn't eat it. You only thought about yourself. This is your punishment for not buying enough for us. Reflect on it. Why should I reflect on this absurd situation? Looking at my husband, he was just grinning foolishly. Why didn't you stop them? Well, I got to eat, so it's okay if I don't get to eat? It's not something to get so angry about. Just buy more next time. That's not the point. No use. My words don't get through to my husband. At that moment, put his hand on my shoulder. Brian, my father-in-law. Brian, always calm and quiet. Hard to read his thoughts, but never thought he'd join in eating. Maybe he didn't know it was mine. I had hoped, but... Misty, it was indeed a bit small to split between 2 for 3 people. Next time, get a bigger piece of meat. That's not the point. No apologies from these people. Overwhelmed by their audacity, I lost the will to argue. I'm leaving. Don't ever barge in uninvited again. Deborah's voice followed me. My husband stayed behind to drink beer. At that moment, I just didn't care anymore. A few days later, realizing I needed to talk to my husband, the situation took a dramatic turn. Huh? An involuntary exclamation. While doing outside work for my job, I spotted my husband. As he's a salesperson, not unusual to see him. But today, in our town, that's strange. He was supposed to be on a business trip. Why? How? Moreover, he was walking arm in arm with an unknown woman. His smitten look made the nature of their relationship immediately clear. I was hiding and secretly watching when I overheard a conversation getting closer. Smith, you always say such smooth things. That's because you are so cute. I had never seen my husband making such a silly, smitten face before. Their conversation continued. Do you really want to marry me? Yes, I want to marry you right away. And will you divorce your wife for me? Of course, I'll talk to her tonight. There it was, a decision. An affair confirmed. My husband was cheating. In that moment, I didn't feel shocked, because I had instantly fallen out of love with him. There was no longer any love for my husband in my heart. It was gone. Whatever. Feeling indifferent about everything, I decided to take action. First, I need to find a moving company. I moved out immediately after discovering my husband's affair. 3 months after leaving, I was busy with another move. The movers would bring my stuff to the house, but I had to unpack myself. The full-service option was too expensive. As I thought this, opening the first box, the doorbell rang. Predictably, 3 people were there. I silently pressed the buzzer to let them into the building. When the 3 of them rang my doorbell, I opened it without a word. They entered one after the other. Hey, Misty, long time no see, said my husband. Wow, nice place, Brian remarked. Misty, how dare you run away and buy an apartment on your own? Exclaimed Deborah. Yes, I had bought my dream apartment. The one I lived in with my husband was old and run down. I had always wanted to move, and finding this new apartment felt like perfect timing, so I didn't hesitate to buy it. When I told my husband, he showed up uninvited with my in-laws. I expected as much. They entered without any hesitation, but I stepped forward to stop them. Stop right there. No further. This is off limits to strangers. What? What are you saying, Misty? Strangers? They're my parents. My husband exclaimed in surprise. What are you talking about, Smith? Your parents are strangers to me. Misty, how can you say that? A husband's parents are more important than anyone else. There are plenty more important things to me. What a terrible wife. Smith, you should divorce her. Well, maybe, yeah. Divorce might be an option. I could take this apartment as alimony, but it's a bit small, huh? Ignoring me, the parents and in-laws gazed around the entrance. It would have been better if it were a duplex. Misty is really thoughtless. Right. A thoughtless wife. Right, Dad? Yeah, I wanted my own room, but that's difficult with this place. As their conversation progressed, they didn't notice my cold gaze. Well, if we divorce, maybe something can be worked out, Deborah said, reaching for the doorknob to the living room. I lightly slapped her hand. It wasn't painful, but the action startled Deborah, who turned to look at me, her face turning red. Hey, Misty! What do you mean by slapping a parent's hand? I'm saying, please don't enter without permission, as you're a stranger. I stated this calmly, unfazed by her yelling. Deborah was taken aback. I'm angry now. Fine, I'll really become a stranger. Smith, divorce her right now. My husband, hushed by Deborah's bluster, gave a wry smile, but before he could say anything, I spoke up. Don't worry, there's no need for that. Huh? My husband looked confused. Looking at him, I said, I don't know what you're misunderstanding, but I'm already single. What? He looked bewildered. I'm saying the divorce papers have already been submitted. What? Why would you do something like that on your own? Taken aback by the unexpected news, my husband raised his voice. Deborah followed suit. Oh, Misty, you really did that? Thinking you could get away with such a thing. That's right. A divorce application filed on your own is invalid. I'll file for mediation. Brian chimed in, seemingly knowledgeable, but I had already anticipated something like this. Oh, but wasn't it Smith who prepared the divorce papers? Huh? That response must have been unexpected. My in-laws looked shocked, glancing back and forth between Smith and me. Right, Smith? What are you talking about? I don't know anything about this. Oh? Didn't you prepare it when we first got married? Saying if there's anything you don't like, feel free to file this. Yes, now that you mention it. He seemed to finally remember. My husband screamed, clutching his head. I never thought I'd need it, but good thing I kept it. I filed it because I was dissatisfied. What are you doing on your own? You can't be serious. It's invalid. I'll settle this with mediation. No divorce. Well, that's fine, but let's settle everything properly before we divorce, shall we? As if everything was anticipated, I took out documents and photos from a large envelope at the entrance. Inside were photos of my husband with his mistress and the investigation results of his affair. What's this? It's evidence of your affair. No, it's your fault for leaving home. No. The affair started way before, right? I've heard a lot from this lady, your mistress, and got these photos. What? That's right. As soon as I left the house, I hired a lawyer and a detective. He was meeting his mistress almost every day, so the evidence of his affair was easy to gather. Then I rushed to discuss with his mistress, lawyer present. She said Smith was going to divorce me and marry her. She's happy he's finally divorcing. And she, being so naive, gave me lots of photos of the fun times she had with you. What? The talk with his mistress, which I thought would be a battleground, went smoothly, thanks to her naivety. The alimony payment will be made by Smith, and with that, she signed the documents, so I look forward to your payment. Wait a minute! I didn't know about this! Well, I did tell you to wait quietly until the divorce was finalized. That's why I couldn't meet you recently. Ah, my husband inadvertently spoke out. I heard that. No more excuses about her forcing you. You contacted her. You just admitted it. Wait, it's not like that. This is different. It's not different. You're free to contest the divorce application, but the divorce will happen. I'll also claim alimony and a share of the property. Such a... Unexpectedly, my husband, or rather, my ex-husband, collapsed on the floor. He probably doesn't have much savings, not much to expect from alimony or property division, but I wasn't counting on that anyway. My main goal was to divorce and get away from him and his parents. That's all I wanted. I have a job, an income, I can buy an apartment, and still have savings left. I have no worries about living. If I can just get back at my husband, that's enough. Thinking this, I looked down at my dazed husband, but it was Deborah who couldn't stay quiet. Hold on, Misty! What are you doing? Saying all this on your own? It's your son who had the affair. Well, my son might have had the affair, but you must be at fault too, right? It's the wife's fault for being cheated on. Really? Is that so? Well, you can leave now. Just as I expected. I knew I couldn't have a reasonable conversation with Deborah, but no matter what she says, they're strangers now. Complete strangers. I began to kick them out without hesitation, but Deborah resisted with surprising strength. Where did she get such power? Even if you have to divorce, at least give up this apartment as part of the property division. Why should I do that? We bought it with our marital funds. My son has a right to half of it. She seemed to have a half-baked knowledge. Deborah said this with a triumphant look. Well, if we had bought this apartment with savings after marriage, maybe she'd be right. But too bad, that's not the case. I bought this apartment with my own money before we got married, so it's not part of the marital assets. Huh? It's from the inheritance my parents left me. I used that to buy it. Huh? Yes, my parents had passed away soon after I started working. That's why I wanted to cherish my in-laws after getting married. But that intention shattered into pieces due to Deborah's daily intrusions and snide comments. Smith never contributed to the household finances. Now that I think about it, was he spending it on his affair? Well, whatever. That means we don't have any marital savings. What? But alimony is a different matter. Please tell your son to pay it, even in installments. Misty, please, reconsider the divorce. I'll talk sternly to my son. Why should I? There's no benefit for me. But from now on I'll hold back on criticizing. It's too late now. But how about steak tonight? With expensive meat, Do you have money? Do you? If you lend me some, I'll buy it. Please? It's not about please. What benefit do I get from this? Sighing deeply, I told the three pale faces quietly, Please, leave. Please buy the meat. Leave! I yelled with a demonic expression, and the three of them jumped up and ran out. Ugh, what a relief! Afterward, my ex-husband accepted the divorce. He probably took it hard when I said alimony would be a lump sum payment if he didn't agree. His mistress went crazy after learning he couldn't pay her share of the alimony. Well, I was the one providing for living expenses, so he only had extra money because of that. His salary wasn't that high to begin with, even lower than mine. No way he could pay her alimony too. But he has signed the papers, so he'll have to pay my share. I was worried Deborah might barge in again since I told her where the apartment was, but that was an unnecessary concern. Apparently, she aged rapidly from the shock and lost her energy. Living on a tight pension, her son, who couldn't pay rent and had to return home, also had no money. Deborah, surrounded by two unreliable men, Brian and my ex-husband couldn't muster the energy to come to my house anymore. That's what my ex-husband told me, begging for time to pay the alimony. Just pay it properly. I don't care. As a newly single person, I'm enjoying a carefree life. No one at home to nag or eat my food without permission. Maybe I'll buy some local gourmet food next, enjoying my single life. Freedom is nice, I muttered. Wow, this feels good. Freedom! I shouted. Yeah, it feels great. Shall I open another beer?